Welcome to AI Made Simple with Carmen, the podcast that takes the confusion out of the artificial intelligence and shows you how to use it with confidence. I'm your host, Carmen Skipworth, global AI strategist, international speaker, best-selling author of Lead with Intelligence, and Grammy-nominated associate producer. Each episode, I sit down with innovators, experts, founders, and business leaders to find out what's actually working with AI. No hype, no jargon, and no complicated tech talk, just what's real. Whether you're a business leader, entrepreneur, or simply curious about how AI is changing the way we work and live, you're in the right place. You'll walk away with tools you can actually use, strategies you can apply, and a clearer picture of what's working, what's not, and what's next. This is AI Made Simple. Hit subscribe, settle in, and let's get real about AI. Let's dive in. Welcome to my show. Everyone, thanks for joining us. This is AI Made Simple with Carmen. And so today we have our wonderful guest, Jeff Ross. Thanks for joining us. He is an expert on AI and he also simplifies AI for us. So having him on a guest on my podcast will kind of help demystify AI and everything. So Jeff, tell us about yourself and how AI applies to you and what you've been doing with AI.
Yeah, sure. Well, first off, I like to say to people, AI saved my marriage. I
like to hear that, but okay, yes.
I'm actually a high school dropout. I'm dyslexic. My grammar's atrocious. My spelling's atrocious. And, but I'm a content marketer. I'm an affiliate network marketer and I create content and I teach people how to do that in using AI to create their own personal brands. So as a content marketer, I'd have all of these great ideas and, I love the feature that you can talk to AI and you can dictate it and it can put it all together for you and then put it into a cohesive post. Because before that, I used to, try and type things out. My spelling would be atrocious. My grammar would be atrocious. And then I'd bombard my wife when she got home after a hard day's worth of massaging because she's a massage therapist. And I'd say, I need you to read this. I need you to fix it up so I can post it. And, that'd be the last thing that she wants to do. So therefore arguments come after it all and frustration on both sides of it all. And now I don't have to do that. And so, AI saved our marriage.
Wow, that's fantastic to hear. Wow. Who would ever thought, right? Okay. Nice
right.
Story. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, now everyone out there, if you need a little extra help, we know we can probably chat with AI and see what suggestions they may have. So Jeff, you've also written a book about AI and you're an expert on AI. And like I was saying earlier on, AI, everyone knows we need AI or there's a fear of AI. Like, do we really need it? Is it going to take my job away or what? So how will we simplify it for people to understand AI is really not out to get you? And we're at the fourth industrial revolution, just like way back then when computers came out and internet came out and everyone had that same fear, but this time we're on a different level. So what are your thoughts on AI in terms of should we even learn it? Is it a threat or should we just, how do we use it and how do we make it simple?
Well, I think for starters, if you're not learning how to embrace it and leverage it, you're going to get left behind in the dust. Absolutely. I like to use this analogy, like, AI is like the tractor with the plow, with the computerized tractor, even at that, there's farming and the agriculture going up and down without anybody sitting in it anymore. And it's got this, basically drones sort of going up and down, plowing up the paddocks versus having the old horse and cart with the one plow, and so those of us who learn to embrace it and leverage it, it'll enhance us. But AI is really just an amplifier. If you put garbage in, you're going to get garbage out, and it'll amplify that for you. But if you learn how to master the skill and the tool, just like anything, you can actually, go and create some beautiful things with it. A poor craftsman, a good craftsman doesn't blame his tools on a poor job. So, this is just like having another tool in the toolkit, but it's a supercharged tool. And I did an interview probably about 12 months ago with a gentleman, Mr. Agrawal, and Manu Agrawal. And he described AI as a way that I love this analogy, is AI is like a Ferrari, but it's like a Ferrari that little kindergarten kids jumping in, turn the keys on, and not knowing how to drive this super beast. And they're driving it off the cliff into the ocean straight away. It's a very powerful tool, and if it's not used and respected in the right way, then it can actually cause a lot of harm. But with great power comes great responsibility, and great responsibility comes great power. So I actually think it is our duty to learn how to be really empowered and equipped with this tool, and as pioneers in this space, to teach others to do the same thing. But you've got to keep the human in the loop conversation. Dave Miller and I, my business partner, we have a lot of conversations around this all the time. And what I've come to realize, if people try to look at AI as a replacement and as a shortcut, they're going to get stuck every single time. But if they use it as a way to partner with them, as a way to use it as a part of their team, and learn how to delegate, the menial tasks to it, all that type of thing, like, for example, fixing up grammar and spelling mistakes and all of that, it can be a very, very powerful tool to your team. And I've even started to see now, digital marketers, and content creators now used to have a graphic designer, a copyright, a website specialist, an SEO specialist, an email marketing expert, a paid ads expert. Used to have all of the hats. If you didn't do it yourself, you had to have the people on your team to do it. So a lot of digital marketing agencies now are downscaling in a way, because AI can help to, instead of having 10 people on their team, they can have 2 really powerful people on their team that are equipped with AI to go do the work of 10 people. So yes, AI will take jobs away, but it'll create space for new jobs to come up, just like any technology has in any day of history.
No, absolutely right, Jeff. You bring up some really good points in terms of partnering with AI and actually trying to learn it, because it's going to create jobs. And so if
Mm-hmm.
you don't enhance yourself, your job could be eliminated because you haven't learned the new skills that are for the future,
Yeah.
right? So, really good points. And then to our point with AI made simple. So let's say someone's trying to figure out, like, oh my God, there's an overwhelm. There's just like, what do I do? How do I even start to learn AI, to even bring it into my life so that I can perhaps not lose my job, but maybe become more, enhance my position so that they say, hey, we're going to use you. What would be a simple way for someone who doesn't know how to use AI? Like, how would they be able, where should they start?
Great question. First off, they've got to understand what is the objective that they want to achieve. So they need to understand the goal, right? Like, if I wanted to lose weight, I've got to get very clear on how much weight I'm going to lose, what I'm actually going to do to lose weight, and I've got to create a goal, and I've got to create a plan around that process. So just dive, and this is where I think a lot of the overwhelm kicks in, right? Is because people are just diving into AI blindly without direction or goal attached to what they actually want to achieve. So, because there's so many things that you can achieve with it, right? So you got to get clear on what it is that you want to achieve. And the first place that I would always start, especially as an employee or an employer, that's looking to stay current, that's looking to stay, be of value to the job at hand, so they can either keep their job or enhance their job or whatever, and make it more simpler and enjoyable. I'd be looking at, okay, what are essentially the bottlenecks in the processes? What are the things that are slowing me down, so I could either go be super productive and more faster in that space, be more efficient in that space. So there are many jobs out there, right? So like if you're an admin at a real estate agent, one of the jobs there is prospecting, looking for leads. Well, AI could definitely help you to streamline that process, and you can create a whole system around that to leverage AI. So then you've got, you don't have to do all the data scraping, and you can do it, manually. You can now automate some of that process. For example, using AI for email marketing, or copywriting, right? I think copywriters who leverage AI are only going to be enhanced and be able to be more productive. But those copywriters who don't leverage AI will get left behind the dust. Same with book authors and all that sort of thing. Now, I did write a book and I leveraged AI to support that, but it wasn't AI that wrote the book for me. It was all my intellectual property. It was all my experience. But I used the book to help me, the AI to create the outline of the book, to act like a publisher from Books and Noble, that type of thing, to critique the book, to give me feedback on the book, to, all of those sort of things. So I was able to write that book in 4 days versus probably doing it in 4 months. But it was a partnership with AI in that space. So you've got to understand what is the objective and the goal that you want to achieve, and then look at being solution focused. So I think as entrepreneurs, especially, we get into this space because we see a gap in the marketplace or see something that could be done better, and we then go into be solution focused. And so instead of being a problem finder, it's like, okay, yes, I find the problems, but what's the solution to it? And then I'd be asking the next question is how can AI support me and support us as a team to be more productive, to be more efficient, to get that speed to market, out there in implementation space, and looking at the structure and where AI fits, because there are so many different tools out there. Another good example of this is we created a little music video for our podcast, and to do something like this 10 years ago would have cost tens of thousands, and it would have been a whole production behind it all, and it would have just been huge. But myself and Dave, we pretty much did it over a couple of days, but I reckon if you broke it all down, it was only about 10 hours worth of work. We used ChatGPT to come up with the lyrics. Okay. We used a tool called Suno to actually create the song for us. We used Google VO3 to actually create the cartoon characters and the movie clip, to splice it all together. And then I used Final Cut Pro as a video editing tool to put it all together. And so that was me partnering with AI, to be able to facilitate a job. And it took us 10 hours instead of 10 months, or whatever, or 10 weeks. Whoa. And the cost of it was next to nothing. It was just our time. We had to pay for the tools. That was about it. I think I paid maybe $200 for VO3 credits to be able to produce a video that we now use all over the time, all over the place.
Right, compared to, what'd you say, 10,000? I mean, how many thousands of dollars? And you just 200, right?
That's very much a guess, but if you started cost it all out, like a video production team, and started cost it all out to someone to do that, I think a reasonable guess would be about 10,000. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just just that alone. Yeah, no, you bring some excellent points in terms of look at your job, how you can be efficient. Check with ChatGPT, right? I mean, that seems to be the go-to one. I mean, what do you think?
Well, it's definitely a basic tool. Yeah, ChatGPT and Claude are probably the two go-tos that most people. And to be honest, they're large language learning models, so LLMs, and it's very much horse for courses these days. ChatGPT is always my OG. It's always the one I recommend everybody goes and learns how to master it all and get into that space. And look, another way I love to use AI is to troubleshoot. For example, I had a challenge with my iMessages on my Apple phone here over the weekend. I was a bit of a naughty boy. I sent out about 350 messages using my text message to promote an event, and I didn't realize that was actually against Apple's terms and conditions with spam laws and all that sort of thing. So my number got flagged, and I didn't know that. But all of a sudden, so my iMessages on my Apple phone, I could still send a text message to individual using my mobile phone plan. Right. I could still call people, do international, no problems there. Just my iMessages was just disabled. And so I went into troubleshoot mode. And so I went to ChatGPT and I said, this is the situation. This is what's going on. And it asked me all these other questions for me to go back and give the answers to. And so we couldn't work it out just with the ChatGPT. So the next, after about probably 10 trial and errors trying to work it all out in the settings, and then pointed me to Telstra, which is my mobile plan holder. Yep. So I had a call with Telstra, and it gave me all of the right statements and questions to ask Telstra to, ChatGPT to provide all this to help me to troubleshoot a lot faster. And then so we go through ChatGPT and Telstra to work it all out. They couldn't work it out. So then I said, okay, Telstra's no go. What's our next steps? So then it pointed me to Apple support, and it gave me the exact sentence after all of this troubleshooting just to copy and paste in Apple support. Apple support knew exactly what it was. They told me I'd been flagged for spamming, and they disabled my iMessenger. They get so ChatGPT they gave me a statement to then go back to Apple support and say, okay, look, this is what we're doing. I apologize for abusing the terms and conditions, blah, blah, blah. Can we also just get this reversed? Within 24 hours after sending that message, Apple reversed it all. Everything was all working smoothly.
Wow.
Where in the past to try and troubleshoot that, I probably would have had to either go into the store or go into the Apple support and get the support to go through it all. It probably could have taken a week to go through it all. But I used ChatGPT just to troubleshoot it for me and get the end result in 2 days. So, ChatGPT is a really good problem solver to be able to help you to, get unstuck and think of the outside the box solutions.
Yeah, no. Oh my God, that's such a great example. And it's so true. I mean, I've had many situations where, I used to use Google a lot. So it's a question now, is Google actually phasing out? Because like exactly what you just did with ChatGPT, I used to do that with Google. And so I would go to Google and say, hey, I'm having problems with
Yeah.
my Messenger. So, is Google search or Yahoo search or any of those search engines, are they becoming more outdated? Because like you,
I think so.
I find more value asking ChatGPT, I have this problem. Who do I speak with? And
Yeah.
it solves the problem a lot better than Google search or Yahoo or whatever, Bing. So is it,
Yeah.
do you think that we will no longer have the Google search engines because
I don't know.
everyone,
I think it'll look different. I think it'll
okay,
definitely look different. And I think as it is right now, it's definitely the Blockbuster versus Netflix conversation. If Google doesn't, step up and evolve, then they will get left behind in the dust, yes.
Yeah.
However, Google and Facebook
Gemini.
and all that sort of thing, they are evolving pretty quickly. Google's got Gemini in that space and stepping in, and they've
Yeah.
got massive budgets to work it all out as well. So
Yeah.
they'll figure it out. It'll look different. It already is looking different.
Correct.
And I believe what we're seeing right now is like in the 1990s, we saw the browser wars. We saw Chrome
Right.
and Bing and all that, all of them competing against to get market share. We're seeing that now already with Perplexity and Menace and a few other tools there, Molebot and all that. Like there seems to be now this agentic AI wars happening,
Correct.
and it's not just it's not just search engine optimization anymore. It's how can we leverage AI to do the deeper dives and the deeper research and use this agent and sort of agent optimization sort of process. So it's not that it's Google won't be around. Google will evolve. Facebook's already evolving. Facebook's already bought out Menace and it's connected with Menace and in that space. So you'll start to see a lot of these pieces of the puzzle come together to create not just a 2D version, but to create more of a 3D, 4D version of things.
Yeah, no, excellent points. And yeah, whether it's going to be Gemini coming out or Google search, we won't know. But thanks, Jeff, for making everything a little more simple to understand. And I know we're near the end of our time, but I would love for you to tell us about your book.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, so I wrote a book. It's titled You Don't Need to Shout. It's not published yet as a time of this recording. It's still in manuscript version, but it won't be far away. But it's titled You Don't Need to Shout, and it's to help people to go from invisible to influential without losing themselves online. So it's basically a encapsulation of my internet marketing career since I started back in 2009. So I've seen a few revolutions, with social and then e-commerce and now with AI. And it's basically helping people to create a personal brand so they don't lose themselves in the whole noise of the internet in that space. And, so like, posting content and email marketing and funnels, they're all things that we have to do. And what we have to do is what I call the horizontal. But the way that we separate ourselves out from the rest of the crowd is by learning how to go deep and be intimate with ourselves, be intimate with our audience, and have something that's bigger than us, like a purpose-driven space that helps us to create that obsession. And that helps us to go deep so then we can rise above, and we then can communicate in a way that it means we don't have to shout. We can communicate in a way that connects with our audience. And, leverage attraction marketing 101 in that space. And, tools like podcast, they're a great tool, right? But if you're just podcasting for the sake of podcasting, then you just got to get lost in the sea of podcast out there that has real no purpose. But if you start to podcast and it becomes a part of your customer value journey and a way to help your mission come alive and your vision come alive, and helps you to connect with your audience in an intimate way, and to be of service and add value to the conversation, now your podcast has got depth. And it will go deep, and it'll rise above the noise. And then this is how we put ourselves to be not just spotlights, but be a floodlight and shine the light brightly for people to come find us. So that's what the book's all about. And it's been an amazing journey, bringing all of the experience together. And I basically walked through character formation and identity formation, and how to leverage your mess to be your message and your test to be your testimony and all of that. And then I go deep dive into the customer value journey process and how to create a personal brand that helps you to separate yourself out from the rest of the crowd.
Wow, that sounds like a fantastic book. I mean, I'd love to do that, to read about it. When do we expect the release, and where can we get it?
Good question. I haven't got that planned yet as the time of the recording, so still sort of revising at the moment, but it's in process.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, hopefully in Amazon or somewhere easy for
us. Obviously when it does launch, it'll be on all the major bookstores, and you'll be able to get it on Books A Million and Barnes and Noble and Amazon.
That's excellent. Well, we'll keep you posted. And gosh, Jeff, I really appreciate your time and giving us an insight on how to use AI a little simpler, and how to apply it to your job so that you don't become obsolete. So the bottom line really is we really need to learn AI, whether it's in your job or even in your life. It'll certainly simplify things, give you more time to spend, right? As Jeff mentioned. And he gave us some excellent tools, ChatGPT, and how, to research all that. And I'd like to thank him especially, and reach out to me, Carmen Skipworth here at Simple AI Made Simple. Any questions you may have. And I like to thank LA Tribune as well. You can find us there, both Jeff and I. So thank you so much, and see you next time.